Hi, Hannah. Max here again.
Hi, Max.
Hi. Right. So, yeah, this is a different number because you're being recorded now. I need to. I need to know briefly. I need to know briefly everything. Everything that. Well, not just what happened today, but everything that you remember from the outset, really, as much as you can tell me, because.
Oh, right, okay.
Because
yeah,
this is going to be something that is going to be evidence if ever they try to do anything else to you. You know?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the date is February the 2nd, and it's the year 2023. I'm not sure what the time of day is. Probably around midday now.
10:15. 10:15 a.m.
It's 10:15. It's 10:15 now. Yeah.
10:15. Okay, so basically, I am a woman with an immune disorder.
Right.
And when it was COVID lockdown, I was very worried for my health because I'd had to have a full blood transfusion due to a COVID-related virus, influenza B, and I was worried for my life.
Okay.
My 4 sons were being educated outside the area that we lived because they'd experienced racial harm. And so I went to the local authority, and because all my work, I'm a writer and I was a performer at the time, all my work was cancelled because the whole entertainment industry went down. So I applied for transport to get my sons to school. I wanted them to get a taxi. One of them was only sort of 8 or 9 at the time, very young, and I wanted to make sure they were safe and that I could shield. That was denied me multiple times. In the meantime, I had no alternative but to walk my sons to school, to the safe school. It was suggested to me that I take my sons out of school and put them in the schools where they've been racially harmed, which I refused on the grounds that that would subject my sons to violence, and I didn't believe that that was just, fair, or reasonable.
Of course.
And so what happened is this went on over 3 or 4 or 5 month period. And during that time, I was walking my sons were cycling with them, an 8 mile in total journey a day. Now the legal limit is 6 miles.
Wow.
3 miles there and 3 miles back. So I mean, it was 2 miles extra for the boys, but for me, because I was doing it twice a day, I was actually travelling 16 miles a day on foot or cycling.
Wow.
Well, I got very ill. I suffered from dehydration. Now I was at the time taking life-saving drugs to boost my immunity.
Yeah.
And what happened is I got swelling in the throat and I couldn't swallow the medication.
Okay.
So for around 8 weeks I actually couldn't take it. And then I had an email from my specialist warning me that I cannot take the medication anymore, and that if I do, I will get liver failure practically instant, upon taking it.
Yeah.
So basically, I had to take my sons out of their safe education. I couldn't work because I was suffering from exhaustion without the medication, boosting my immunity. And so I took a claim against the council for around £1 million for starters. I went to Crown County Court, where a judge by the name of Peter Griffiths said that he takes great pleasure in striking the claim out, which was actually illegal. I'm a qualified barrister, and I know that unrebutted notices sent by recorded post stand as a fact, and I had several of them. And so basically I carried on, noticing, it was all that I could do, and the claim just kept going up and up and up. Eventually it reached £25 million, and still nothing. Then they brought in a lawyer called Mark Fowles from a company called DWS.
Yeah.
He used threatening and abusive behaviour towards myself. They breached CPR rules, civil procedure rules, that say even if liability is not admitted, medical treatment should be provided in an emergency. Well, at that time, I believed that it was an emergency, and I needed stem cell treatment to boost my white blood cell count, which they refused to provide, even though they were signatories, DWS, and the insurance company, actually, QBE, were signatories to that protocol.
Yeah.
So basically, in effect, they were leaving me to die.
Yeah.
And what they then did in the last year, where I was still trying to get remedy from them, they started bringing in social workers, making false allegations that my sons were badly behaved, they brought in 2 PCSOs by the name, both called Sarah, one called Sarah Deakin, who tried to pin false allegations on my sons, things like lighting fires, carrying offensive weapons, all sorts of things.
Yep.
We also had a police officer who was married, we believe, to one of the PCSOs, who basically stole our car on the basis that it was involved in a drugs heist. He posted it on Facebook as a drugs heist. What that did is that alienated us in the community, and it caused an increase in the aggression towards us. My son's been threatened by stabbing. My eldest son had...
Sorry, your son has been threatened with what?
Stabbing.
What do you mean? Who's done that?
A man called Brian Dudley threatened to stab him.
Really?
And actually put a knife to
Is
his...
is he somebody that's known to the police?
Yes, he is, yeah. And they did nothing about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then my eldest son was attacked by the same man and a group of others in the woods. His shoulder came out of its joint, and as a result of that, he had to have extensive surgery to pin his arm back into his socket.
Wow.
The 2 PCSOs.
Okay. All right. Listen, just take time. Take your time. Take your time.
The 2 PCSOs called me repeatedly when I was on holiday.
Wow.
They phoned me up. I left my teenage sons behind because they didn't want to come with me on an educational trip. And they called me consistently, told me I was a bad mother, told me that I needed to get home now, told me that that I had that I was irresponsible to leave my son, who is now 19, with Jet, who was maybe 15, nearly 16 at the time. And I said no. I said they are very capable. They can cook. They can clean. They've got all food in the house. There's nothing, absolutely fine. But they basically just called me constantly. These 2.
Yeah.
I had multiple calls from social services making
So
all sorts of...
over how long a period has this been now?
A year.
This has been a year in
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they had, what they did is they had multiple social workers on different allegations. So I had one called Catherine Gilpin. She sent private letters to my sons, to my younger sons, claiming that she knew them, telling them that if they have any worries or concerns, they should call her, giving her private number.
Wow.
She sat in the car park of our home, stalking my younger son, Angel, who's,
Yes.
I don't know.
We've seen it. We've seen many and much of what you are explaining here on the same scale, but obviously a little bit more than even that, where they've used the MOD also. But continue, please. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Catherine Gilpin came to our kitchen window, banged on the window, and said that my sons had no sheets on their bed. She was in attendance with a police officer. I don't know the police officer's name, but he had sort of a light rose gingery beard and bald head. It wasn't the same one that took the car.
Yeah.
We have my 2 elder sons, multiple times been arrested, searched, and even put in a prison cell without any charge. On false allegations. We believe that you have drugs. We believe that you're carrying a knife.
Yeah.
There's been a report that you're doing this or that, and NFAs. No further actions.
I know.
The 2 younger ones have ASBOs, which are completely fraudulent. Absolutely not. The 2 PCSOs work in the local area, and they took it upon themselves to go around to other families and warn them to stay away from my sons.
Wow.
That has basically allowed the local racists and people that really enjoy violence come to our home. We've had multiple threats from the community to beat myself. Anything that goes wrong, if anything goes missing, or if anyone...
I know there's a lot of racism down your way.
Yeah, it's always my sons. Yeah, so I get women screaming at my door, banging on the door, calling me a fucking bitch, telling me my sons are criminals, blah blah blah. And my sons are, you've met.
They've stirred it up. They've stirred it up.
Oh, we haven't met yet, actually, but basically my sons are very polite, very well educated and well behaved.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the eldest one smokes weed, and that's why the eldest one is not living at home, because we won't allow it.
Yeah.
We don't drink, we don't smoke. We're actually...
Unfortunately, it's just a product of today's environment. You know, that's what's happening.
I know, all the teenagers smoke weed, I know,
Yeah.
so I don't kind of see it as a big deal. Now, recently, Jet and Orlando were stopped in their cousin's car, Neil, who's my colleague and my cousin. They were stopped on, I can't remember what charge. They threatened to smash my cousin's window if he didn't get out of the car. We believe that they actually planted weed in a box, that there was boxing gloves in this box.
Oh, they will do that.
They claimed there was weed in it. Jet, they claimed that he had a pack of white something, maybe tablets. They claimed they were Class A drugs. They arrested them, put them in cell for 24 hours. They claimed that Jet attacked an ambulance driver. What actually happened was Jet had back pain. We took him to hospital, and they gave him a massive shot of morphine. And he had an adverse reaction to it. He was having a seizure. And so when because obviously we didn't know at the time, when this happened, he became aggressive, because he didn't know what was going on with him, and he was trying to control his body was spasming. And so we called an ambulance, and he was terrified, because he thought, I'm not fucking going back with them. Last time I went there, they gave me something, and now look at me. So he told them to get the fuck out of his house, which, in all honesty, from a 16-year-old...
When did that happen to him?
That was about maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so they gave him an ASBO on the basis that he had... threatened violence towards an ambulance man, all sorts of things, and all that. So they were all the things. Basically, we were. They also made a statutory order. A man called Mark Kastner of the Education Department at Devon County Council sent us statutory orders against all the boys, claiming that we were not educating them. Even though I had sent them bills for private educational services, which they hadn't paid. So obviously that was a lie. And basically, in the end, we were so worn down, and we were just exhausted, and we thought, right, we've got to get out. We've got to get out of the house. We were being basically forced out of our home by these multiple agents. So we knew that we weren't going to get remedy. We'd heard that there was a derelict building that was owned by Devon County Council. So we took possession of it on the basis of the outstanding debt and the aggravated harassment of ourselves and stalking.
And that's where we are today.
And that's where we are now.
Yep.
Since we moved in here, they took out an interim possession order against us on the basis that we were squatters, that they didn't know us, all of this. I attended the court on the 18th of January, and I put forward my evidence of substantial debt notices. Between that hearing, they brought 20, some people dressed up as policemen and women, 20 in full riot gear and armed, 2 police riot vans, several
This
cars.
was at, where was this?
This was at our new home.
I think I've seen that. That
was on the 7th and 8th of January. They banged on windows, smashed on doors, tried to force entry into locations, terrorized us.
I can see that they. I think I wrote something on there. It's a passive aggression is what they were using. Over
2 days, and that culminated in them smashing in violently into the home. They caused £40,000 worth of damage. They caused a stairwell to collapse, 2 windows to be smashed. 3 doors to be smashed to smithereens. They illegally kidnapped my 16-year-old son on the basis that the building was not safe. Despite us providing the new the latest social worker, Emma Young, with a clerk of works communication, where he explained that the roof was not falling down, the building was quite safe, there was no legionnaires, we had the legionnaires risk management in place, blah 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 blah. So they knew that it was a lie. So,
well, it'd be silly for you in your condition, or for you to have, or to stay in a place like that where if you've got such illness, you know, it wouldn't be feasible, would it?
No, exactly. So everything was, it's just life on life. So now they kidnapped my son.
Yeah.
They are holding him on a deprivation of liberty order, meaning that he's not allowed to speak to his mother. He's not allowed to speak to any of his friends on social media. He's currently been held, as far as we know, in Glastonbury. In a locked room, there are 3 security guards that walk around with him in every room. He's not allowed to walk in the area. He doesn't know anyone in the area. He's been held against his will.
Yeah.
He's actually tried to escape twice.
Okay.
And the police in Gloucester have actually assisted this forced hostage holding of Jet.
Right.
And on that occasion, he called me. He was desperate. He was crying. He was hyperventilating. He was running around the streets of Gloucester. It was pissing down rain. It was 1 a.m. in the morning. They were following him in blacked out windows. He was terrified. He got to Gloucester police station. He begged them to help him. He was on loudspeaker. I spoke to the officer. I said, this is a 16-year-old, competent young man. He does not want to be held by these people. We are commanding his release. And the officer said, take him back. Yeah. They took his phone off, and then they got a deprivation of liberty order on him. I've written to the judge, and I've told her that the whole claim is, this whole narrative around social services is fraudulent. Yeah. They tried to get my 2 younger sons, who are currently on holiday in Mauritius with their father. They actually contacted the Mauritian embassy and tried to get them extradited from Mauritius.
Who tried to get them extradited?
Emmy Young was from Devon County Council, tried to get my sons extradited from Mauritius.
Wow.
Yeah. And has claimed that she's got a ward of state order on Darcy and Angel.
And under what grounds? Under what grounds?
No idea. No idea. We've been sent no paperwork. We've been sent fraudulent orders, unstamped, unsigned orders. No clue whatsoever, but we know anyway that whatever they're saying is all lies. So it kind of is irrelevant what the lies are. You know what I mean? We're not going to defend. We're not going to defend outright lies. Yeah. Yeah. So
it's just a case of slaves that are dissidents, and generally aren't kind of towing the line and doing what they're telling you to do, whilst ill-treating you. They then come for you if you stand up against what wrongs they're doing.
Absolutely.
It's just unlawful, and it's horrible.
Absolutely. So the boys have been they've tried to create joinder with the father. They've tried to create joinder with my sons out there. There is no contract. There is no joinder. They've tried to force joinder on me. They've tried to force contract on me.
Yes.
There has been no contract. There is no joinder.
Yeah.
So therefore there is no claim. The social worker, Emmy Youngs, is the one that incited the extreme violence against us by the armed riot.
Yeah, I can see it's terrifying. I can see when you see or you have such an amount of police as it is, that aren't really acting as police, because obviously they're not protecting us. And when you see it like this, it's very terrifying, because like you say, they've got all of these weapons, and they're all very well trained. They're quite like soldiers, aren't they?
And they're not even supposed to be armed. Civilians. They are civilians. They're not supposed to be armed.
Yeah. So I've seen what you've written about that, actually.
Yeah. So the situation is now that yesterday we were sent more fraudulent orders regarding the property.
Yeah. And you say they're fraudulent because what was the reason they were fraudulent?
I'm going to explain now. So basically, the first hearing we won. If we hadn't won, they were supposed to have sent a stamped, sealed order outlining the reasons why the possession order was upheld, interim possession order was upheld, which they failed to do. Yeah. Therefore, we believe that we won that case. Okay. They then sent yesterday an order for full possession on the basis that there was a hearing, also apparently yesterday, which we were not invited to. Yeah. It is listed as a 3-hour hearing, but we were not invited to it. And claiming that we are trespassers, and claiming that the last hearing was not won by us but lost by us. case.
Okay.
It's unstamped, it's unsigned. We've written to the court and we've said these orders are fraudulent. Andrew Heaton Hart has slandered us. He's guilty of libel because he's written that we are trespassers and he knows that we are not. Therefore, I am bringing a £2 million claim against Andrew Heaton Hart.
Well, if I can just mention the Bill of Rights and those superior statutes, they all stand firm, don't they? They don't. There's nothing changed in there, and so of course all documentation has to be as it was designed, doesn't it? Throughout, in all time. It is in all.
I'll give you an example. Yeah. If let's say, for argument's sake, that you have committed a crime, and I've taken photographs of you committing that crime.
Yeah.
Okay. And I put a photograph into the court as evidence, and say, right, that's Matt, and he committed this crime on blah blah date.
Yeah.
If there's no date on that photograph, that evidence is inadmissible.
Okay.
Okay. So what that means is any order that hasn't got a date stamp at the very least is inadmissible evidence.
Yes. Yes.
Forget the fact that they also need to have the judge's signature to take liability for the order that he has made, or a court clerk's signature to take liability. So what you have there is inadmissible evidence, right?
Yeah.
And with an unstamped and unsigned order. It means it has no validity on any level.
Yeah, I can see that quite clearly with what you just said.
Today, they have sent two giants around here from Securico. I was so frightened that I couldn't get my
so they're from Securico.
Yeah, Securico.
Right.
Claiming that they're there on behalf of the owner and they're doing work on the building, and they started to start assessing the building, taking photos, and I was like, no, I am the owner of this property and I am commanding you to leave now. There's trespass notices. 5 times I commanded them to leave. I was very polite. They just stood their ground. It wasn't until I used a swear word and said fucking move now that they did move.
Yeah.
He lunged towards me, threatened violence. I actually thought he was going to punch me. I walked behind him to his car.
Did you get the registration?
I didn't video it because I was so nervous that I'd hit the video button and I'd actually hit the video button.
So do you know their office?
No, I don't. But what I don't, because I didn't get the video footage, so I've got no, I've got no proof of that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've got no proof.
But what I'm going to do with this recording here now is I'm going to keep it as evidence. I'm going to pass it on to all the relevant people that need to have it as evidence, and I'm going to ensure that they also, those bailiffs are not coming back, those enforcement agents. Because obviously we've had exactly the same with them previously, where I've been fined for matters regarding the state agent, as you've heard me mention and you've seen me speak about on social media. I've obviously told them myself, I've said that if you extend your reach and your hand to involve yourself with the court system that is acting corruptly, you also are held accountable. Because you now know the evidence of the case. Previous to that, you would have been acting without knowing, but you are now aware, which makes you just as culpable, and so really this recording, it needs to be given to everybody who is concerned,
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree.
Okay.
I mean, that would be great.
Well, I think that's the start from my angle. I need to make sure that I've given it to all of the police up and down the country, and I've given it to the security or whoever they are that come out to do. Yeah, the Securico. I'll give it to them. And I'll give them a letter as well, stating that they're all going to be culpable if they continue to cause harassment and they continue to commit crimes against you
It's stalking.
Yeah.
What they're doing is actually they're stalking us.
Yeah.
Which is
Oh well, I know.
It's an indictable.
Well, the thing is, just to invoke the fear that they are doing continually on such a it raises the level of penalty to, you know, it raises the level of penalty to maximum, because the more it's prolonged, the higher the sentencing. You know that.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Well, even this, this police officer who, Ollie Taylor, there's been no communication from him. Okay, he's been allocated to the case. I think that guy is terrified.
Well, of course he is. There's many.
Honest,
We've had exactly the same.
I can't blame him. This is not.
Yes. You're right. You're right. Yes. Do you know with what you've just said there? Yeah. You looked at Carol Woods. Yeah. You looked at the video of Carol Woods. She was reporting. She had all of her evidence. She had everything set. And she gave, she told the judge. The judge had actually told Mike Todd, I think it is, Greater Manchester Police. He was the chief of police. And they told him to investigate it. He was investigating it, and all of a sudden, he was found on a mountain dead in Snowdonia, where they said that he had taken some drink and drugs. Totally out of character, yes. And then, of course, even his wife had said no. Even if he was having an affair with 10 different ladies, which is what they were trying to say, that he always knew that he could come home and they could talk through it and they would get through it, you know, and that it wouldn't have been something that he would have done.
No.
And so I understand where you're coming from with that police officer. He's terrified, like you say. They, of course, when they...
He's terrified for his own sons, because he's got two sons that are married to Jeff Orlando.
There's another two police officers. I'm going to send you their information, actually, that they were terrorised. They were both inspectors, and they were from up north as well. And they were terrorised because of reports of wrongdoing within their ranks and so on, and they were it's evil. It's all totally evil what is going on, and they are kind of like, they're railroaded. They have to get on with what they're being told to do, and it's even the same with the politicians. The politicians are not allowed to step out of line. They have to go with what they're being told they must do. Me and you, we can write to them. We can say whatever we would like to say to them, but they can't intervene with you or I. They have to follow what is being placed before them.
The narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been told by many people that there's a turnaround going on at the moment, and there's a massive clean-up operation going around fraud and bribery and all of that, right?
Yep.
And what I believe I've actually uncovered here, it ultimately is one council. It's one council, and that's Devon County Council. Because guess what? All these agents, all of them, are all agents of Devon County Council.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So or like like Andrew Eaton Hart. I know Andrew Eaton Hart. He's a district judge. I know him because I faced him in other court appearances.
Right.
Now, one of the things he said to me, which had nothing at all to do with an interim possession order, is how did you get on with trying to evict the people out of the Crown Court? Why would he say that in a public hearing?
Sorry, say that again, Hannah. I didn't quite.
He said to me when I went to the interim possession hearing.
Yeah.
He said, how did you get on with trying to evict the tenants from Exeter Crown Court?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
oh my God!
Notice on the tenants.
Oh, how petty! It's just like, it's so childish, isn't it?
So
Absolutely, it's just childish, like games.
Yeah, so the public's access a court, right? And my answer to that was, well, yes, I did do that, and just because they're still there, it doesn't mean that they're there
lawfully. No, they're not.
Yeah, because I said the people don't have access to public courts, and that's wrong. I said, so yeah, I don't dispute that I did that. I don't really know what that's got to do with what's going on here.
That's right.
He also brought in one of the assailants from what I describe as a domestic terrorist attack on the family, who was a police officer. He was at the court, and he'd gone in and spoken to the judge before we went in.
Wow.
And I said, why is that man here? I said, if he's guilty of crimes, he should be under arrest, not appearing in the court, right? And they had, even when I was at the court, they had police vans everywhere. There was only me.
I liken everything that they do these days to what they claim is county lines. You know, when they talk about the drug dealers being cartels and them having these youngsters that go about doing whatever they do, the work for the bigger guys, it's exactly the same thing that they're doing.
Right.
You know?
Well, do you know what? You just reminded me of one further incident. Darcy, my little cutie pie, when he was around 13, I allowed him for the first time to go on a train with his older brother Jet to go to Bristol, actually Temple Meads in Bristol.
Yep.
To
I know it.
Up,
yeah,
right,
I know it.
meet up with some friends for a day out. Okay. They were arrested at the police station by British Transport Police on the basis that they might be county lines. They were both searched. They were crying their eyes out. Right? They called me up. I was screaming at the officer, "What are you doing to my children? Let them go."
Of course.
He called social services and reported me.
Wow.
They told me that they were bringing the boys home. They held them illegally in a locked room for 3 hours and then brought them home in a police van like a pair of criminals.
Okay.
Right.
Hannah, how is it that you came to being at the bar? And I mean, obviously, I understand. I know that you went and you did some studying and so on. You did some training and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Were you going to take a position or not?
Yeah. No. Yeah. So basically, I have 2 degrees. I have 1 degree in performance art, and I'm a very well-known performance artist.
Yeah.
And I've written 5 books on poetry, consciousness, different things.
Yeah.
And I took a 2nd degree at the age of 34, a qualifying law degree at London Metropolitan University. And I did so well, despite not having sort of background qualifications like A levels and the like, because I'd done an informal degree in performance art. Excuse me. I became a top student in trust and equitable law and right across the board. And because of that, I was actually invited to join the bar. I went to Inner Temple, and I was in a temple for a year. And what happened is I wanted to get into human rights and social justice, and I wasn't being given sort of the opportunity, to do that. And I ended up in a criminal set and working as a pupil barrister. And while I worked as a pupil barrister, I realized that it was very, it was not really for me, it was sort of corrupt and, it was all about sort of adversarial justice, and I don't believe in that. I believe in inquisitorial justice. Yeah. And so
what's the inquisitorial?
Well, inquisitorial is when you just look at the facts, whereas adversarial is best argument wins.
Okay, yeah.
So I left the bar at that point and became a businesswoman instead, and had a very successful organic cleaning service business where I made all my own products and provided deep cleaning services. A very, very successful company, turning over 30 grand a year. Also bought and sold and did up properties. Yeah. So I was a successful businesswoman. I moved to Devon because I was writing a book, actually, called Room Reader, which was based on my experience of having my own company and how, you change a room with decorative things, a little bit like Feng Shui or... You
haven't hung about at all, have you? You just haven't wasted any time at all, have you?
No, I've done a lot. I mean, I was a successful performer before I did my business and before I did law. I came back into law because of what happened to me, because I couldn't get access to a public court. So, and I couldn't afford the lawyers and all the rest of it. So, I was doing it myself. So I kind of dusted off my law books and started reusing my knowledge. And then I was trained in natural law as well, and constitutional law by a guy called John Little of Canada. And so, I just basically used all of my knowledge and skills to bring the claim. But I've been reporting Devon County Council over years, and I've actually been told Alison Hernandez, who's the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall Police, said they wouldn't investigate and that it was not that it was outside their jurisdiction, which is bullshit.
Okay.
Because a crime is a crime. It doesn't matter that it happens to be.
Do you know? Can I just ask you this question? Did you actually tell anybody at the bar that you didn't agree with the adversarial law type thing?
No, I didn't tell them that. No, I just kind of reached that conclusion. What it was is that when I was being interviewed for these top chambers, you had to sit like a test and you had to do an interview. And so when I was being interviewed, I would say, I would answer questions, and they would be like, well, you're not willing to kind of like fight to death, if you like, for your argument. And I said, well, no, because it's not about me, it's about fairness, and I need to get myself out of the way, and I need to look at facts. Well, what I found out later is that the side that Badr goes is no facts can be tried in a court of law. So clearly, clearly, I've got friends who.
I've seen it.
I've got a friend who's got chambers of his own now at the Royal Courts of Justice.
Yeah.
Abu Sufyan.
Yeah.
And I went to law school with him.
Yeah.
And he was desperate for me to join his chambers. He specialises in immigration law.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because I didn't study immigration law. But I mean, I've done a lot of things, in my life. I excel.
One of my friend that I spoke with last night, who's very concerned about all of what's going on as well. He was telling me that there is another solicitor that you've got to kind of link up with, who is who's working lots of things at the moment for bad things that's happening to the people. There are lots of them that just won't go against the grain and will stay in the lanes that they're being told to stay in, and will do nothing to help other than just line their own pockets whilst engineering crime and so on. But there is one other who is quite like you, I think, is what I'm being told, and he's told me that you two have got to link, because you leaders out there have got to be supported where crime is being brought against the people, and we want it to stop. Oh,
yeah, no, absolutely. The thing is that, as you may be aware, my work over the last year has been to help other people.
Yes.
And
well, a community court is something which is allowed. It's lawful, isn't it?
Absolutely, of course.
And then, I mean, with your title, even more so.
Well, yeah, but I'm not a judge of that court. The trial by jury is the judge, and
no,
that's just lay people.
That's right.
That actually is natural law.
But you've got that title as well, haven't you?
I have the title, but I basically am the administrator of the court.
Yeah.
That means I help to substantiate the claim and to notify the parties.
Yeah.
So I basically operate very similar to a law clerk.
Yeah.
And when I become the adjudicator, when the court is actually in play, I would play the role similar to a judge, but I'm not there to judge. I'm there to assist the trial by jury.
Yeah.
In regards to constitutional law that may help them to have a foundational base in their decision making.
Of course.
But ultimately it's down to the trial by jury to uphold or not the claim.
Yeah.
Now, what happened in my case when I had my public hearing is that they wanted to. I'd asked for a 5-year prison term for Phil Norrie, who was the chief executive officer of Devon County Council at the time.
Yeah.
And they actually wanted to increase it to attempted manslaughter or attempted murder because of my medical condition for 15 years.
And they were all, I've seen they were all very integral people, weren't they? Because I did see a court that you had there, and you can tell they're all very good people.
Oh, Chad Mannion is a very
Yes, I've heard of him.
He's very knowledgeable.
I've heard of him. One of my friends knows him quite well. One of my other friends.
People came from all over the country for that hearing because people were really passionate about the people accessing justice. And people came. I mean, there's been 70 to 80,000 views of the video footage where the bills of the debt owed by Devon County Council to the Badr Trust, the Badr family, are given, and they were accepted by one of their staff. She was high up; she's actually in their financial department, and she accepted those orders. I mean, they keep lying, and they lied in court because they don't know us. It's like, how can they say they don't know us when I email these people daily? It's just crazy. It's an outright lie.
Yeah.
And now they've brought Andrew Hart into this district judge, into this into this fraud.
Yeah.
And of course I've put him on notice because as a lawful advocate, which is what I call myself now, rather than a legal expert, because I'm not a member of the bar or the law society. Yeah. But what I have is extensive knowledge of the legal and the lawful.
Yeah.
And I know that if he's basically calling me a trespasser in writing, that's liable. That's basically staining my professional standing in society. You know. And if we lose our home as a result of henchmen acting on these fraudulent orders, he would be liable for that. And so I've already noticed him and let him know that I will hold him personally liable.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the law of the land has to be kept intact. And if they are encroaching and they are doing these things that they shouldn't be doing, they have to be stopped, no matter who they are. The law of the land has to be upheld, whether it be that it's us that are committing crimes and whether it be that it is them that is committing crimes, and that is that. How did you get this this title, sheriff? Then did you actually apply for it, or?
Okay, so what happened there is I was trying to get help. I was trying to get a sheriff to help me serve paperwork.
Yeah.
On the on those that I was claiming against.
A sheriff. When you say sheriff, like they have sheriffs in Scotland.
No, they're different. I mean, sheriffs originally fell under the Justices of the Peace Act, and their role was to keep the peace and to issue summonses and warrants.
Yes, I remember there was a guy back in the 1800s, I forget his name, and he had the title sheriff. He got done for buggery in the end and stuff, didn't he? And then he had like a little crowd of thieves that would go out and rob people. They were kind of like what's that guy, the Pied Piper type of thing. Sorry. Yeah, but they would rob the people. It's similar to what goes on today, still really, and then they would sell back the property that they'd stolen, you know. And so no, I know you're not, but that's where the police had derived from, is what I'm understanding. That's where what I understand of that story. The police had derived from there, and today they are instigators of crime, is what I can see from what I can see.
The corporate police, they don't have an oath. They are privately owned. Devon and Cornwall Police are owned by IBM. They're privately owned, and they're nothing more than private security guards. They're wearing weapons, which is actually a breach of the peace in itself. Yeah. Under the Justices of the Peace Act. I've
seen everything that you've written about that.
Yeah.
It does make sense. Yeah, it's under the Northampton.
The Northampton statute of Northampton is about wearing armory type uniform, and the Justice of the Peace Act is about carrying and using weapons.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is there were no sheriffs. There were none. They got rid of all the sheriffs in England.
Mhm.
The ones that exist in Scotland are nothing more really than court bailiffs. They're the equivalent of a high court enforcement officer in England.
Yeah.
And so I decided to declare myself, by way of notice, the elected sheriff of the British Isles. And I published that all over wherever I could, years ago now. And what I did is I invited anyone who was against that proposition to basically reply. And I had nothing but positive support. It was on LinkedIn, it was on Facebook, it was everywhere.
Brilliant.
And people were like, "Yeah, no, you're perfect for this role, Hannah. You know, someone's got to do it." Initially, I was actually just the sheriff of I think Devon. I think
if Chris Eubank knew, he might challenge you. If Chris Eubank knew, he might challenge you. He normally wears the sheriff's badge.
I would love to have him by my side. But what happened actually is that I was approached by several groups saying, "Why aren't you the sheriff for us? We don't have a sheriff." And I was like, "Oh my God, am I the only flipping woman in this country that can stand up?" You know.
Yep.
And so I reluctantly took the full title of the Sheriff of the British Isles on the back of, you know, kind of like people saying, "Well, we want you as the sheriff of our island."
I'm totally with you, because I'm sick and tired of the corruption that's going on. You know, I've suffered enough throughout my life, and as I said when I was in court with this recent matter, I said, look, I'm a product of my environment. I don't doubt that some of what I did was my own fault, but I do believe that a lot of what has happened was actually engineered, and I was never going to get away from it. Somebody had to be a criminal. Somebody had to be made to be a criminal for the justice system to work. And then obviously, you know, I've tried to get out of behaving badly in that way for many years, and I have worked away from that, and I've now become quite successful in dealing with cars and stuff.
I know you have.
And of course, I'm just sick and tired of trying. It's been since 2017 now that I've been trying to bring justice for my sister and my brother and myself, and we've been having very much the same as what you've had, but it's been going on for a lot longer. They use the MOD, they sent soldiers over in plain clothes, and you know, then they've sent MI5 or followed MI5 back to their home, and then they've sent aircraft out, and the aircraft has like roared off at Mach 2, tremoring the ground, and like, you know, shaking the organs of my children and their mother. It's just unimaginable that, you know, you actually sit there, and I don't doubt it's very much the same for yourself, that you sit there in your home and you believe, just like how I'd written in that post, where you will be quite like that guy Pat Finucane, where they come in through your door with a sledgehammer and shoot you to death, you know.
Yeah.
That's how it is, and you shouldn't be feeling like that. Nobody should be feeling like that. And this is why it's so terrifying, and we do need.
Where are they for me?
Well, this is it.
Where is the?
Yeah.
You know, where is the protection?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, these are clearly evidential, multiple crimes. All. I mean, you know, my case, if you think about it, is much simpler than yours. It's not like. You know,
I can see yours. Yeah, I can see.
It's not like a big security heist. It's not like sexual deviances. It's not about adrenochrome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is like a very ordinary, actually a very ordinary claim.
Yes.
It's a claim of professional negligence by Devon County Council, who were responsible to keep women and children safe during a COVID pandemic. By their own account. How can they be locking people up for breaking COVID rules and then forcing a clinically exceptionally vulnerable woman out during a COVID epidemic, right? Now, at that time, I 100% believed it, wholeheartedly believed
it. Of course, yeah.
Right? And everything that I did was on the basis of that belief.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're talking about now maybe 3 years ago, right? Now, that belief has changed. Now, don't get me wrong. In terms of the whole COVID thing, what I believe is that an untested vaccine is a dangerous vaccine because you don't know what the outcome is until you put that in somebody, and you don't know how their body's going to react, right? And it should not be an experiment on the people.
No.
But you know, it's not that I don't believe in vaccination. It's not that I don't believe in
Right.
you know, some pharmaceuticals. You know what I mean? All of that. And so, like, it's like I fear, even though I am supporting people, and I got this kind of title, which to be honest, I very rarely use, the Sheriff of the British Army. Very rarely use that title.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, what this actually is a quite simple, straightforward claim. And where it's been denied and tried to be smothered by incriminating myself and my son.
Yeah.
And that's what actually makes it, I believe, so credible, because it's so normal. It's just an ordinary professional negligence claim.
Yeah. But this is it. This is exactly it. I mean, what they are doing is they are stopping the tidal wave of people that want to make claims. Because they are an administration, they are, you know, they're all about finance. If one is doing it, then another, then another, then another, they don't win. They fall. But if they treat you fairly, it wouldn't happen, would it?
Exactly. We've been open to mediation throughout, right? 125 million. That was what was upheld by a trial by jury. Do you know what I mean? To me, it's just numbers, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't even had a pound.
But
we haven't had a pound or even a penny from these people.
I've seen that people are mocking the figures, but of course, it's quite right when you consider the purse of the establishment, and when you consider that if it wasn't that they were fined something like this, then they would do it again and again and again.
But it's not about the money. The money is neither here
nor
nor there.
No, it's about the punishment.
It's the principle, right? I've taken this house. This house is probably worth about 2 million. Right?
Yeah.
So what's the big deal? Do you know what I mean? Negotiate with us. Give us a couple of million to do the place up and make it look beautiful. And leave us alone.
Yeah.
They're so stupid, these people. Right? But you see, for me, because that claim was upheld by a trial by jury, I can't change that amount myself. Because if I do, I'd actually be then destroying the claim.
Yes, of
course. And the reason that it's got that level is because these idiots in the legal department at Devon County Council are so incompetent that they actually didn't try to mediate or rebut the claim that I was making. That's how it's got so astronomical. That's actually got nothing to do with myself, and it's more about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does, yeah. Now, the house that you had before, what happened to that? Have you still got that?
No, we had to basically abandon it because, you know, obviously we were being stalked and harassed and all that there, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I've got a call from my builder, and I want to know what's going on with him. Do you mind if I call you back?
No problem at all. I'm going to log this now anyway, and I'll be using.
Actually, he's called off. I'll call him back. But
okay.
I think that's it. Now, my concern about all of that is how long, because we've been talking for like 50 minutes.
Well, they have to listen to it. They have to.
You might have to break it up into parts.
No,
I'm just slightly concerned about, I don't know, because there's a lot of your story in there as well. I mean, you might need to listen to it because, I don't know. No,
they know all about my story.
Okay,
they know all about mine, and the more that is in there, the better, because obviously it supports yours supports mine. And so I think it's best that they get it all, because otherwise, if you doctor it or you change it, then it's not evidence.
Okay, look. Well, please, publish it anywhere and everywhere. We need people to know what's going on here.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. I'm going to speak to my friend again in a minute, because I was on the phone to him earlier as well, and I told him, I said I couldn't speak because I was driving, and of course I said I'd call him back after I'd spoken to you, because he was concerned. He was concerned about what was going on as well.
We're terrified here. I'm telling you. Do you know what? Honestly, we are, I mean, I've written to the Independent Police Complaints Commission, right?
Yeah.
I'm not fucking exaggerating. What are they going to do next?
The police.
They've already all but tried to kill us. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
They've already all but tried to kill us already.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we don't exaggerate. There are 3 of us here.
I know exactly.
Academic.
I know exactly where you're coming from, because we fear them very much also. You're not supposed to fear them. None of us are supposed to fear them. We're supposed to be being treated amicably and fairly. You know?
Because you see, John Hart is in fear of his whole life. He knows, right, he's going to jail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what you've got, right, is a very powerful criminal being left to continue to play with our lives.
Of course.
Right now, right?
Yeah.
And he's doing that.
Yeah.
And it is, we need help here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we are incredibly moderate people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? I am not hysterical. I rarely get hysterical. It's a rarity. It's just not my...
No, I can see you're a very rational person.
You know?
I can hear that. I know that you're rational, you're well balanced. I can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, it's like most ordinary people, an average man or woman, would probably have had a meltdown.
Oh my God, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I commend you for your strength. I really do.
You know.
I really do.
You know, we are literally, Devon County Council is a criminal organisation. It's that simple. It's a criminal organisation. There are multiple corrupt agents within that council that will do whatever John Hart did.
Yeah.
And that's what's actually going on.
It's going on. But Hannah, it is actually going on all over the country. I guarantee you that, because we've had maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 police forces that we've tried to get to deal with the matters. Not one of them has managed. You know. But they all.
I mean, I would work with the police. I would work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this guy, I mean, he's disappeared. I'm sending him fucking emails. He's not even.
Yeah, they will.
Does he even exist?
They will disappear, and they won't come back to you because it's on paper. You know, they're frightened to write back to you. It's on paper, or it's it's electronic. It's logged. It's evidence. But even then, look at how I presented the evidence in court the other day, and it's just they're not interested. They're not interested. Me and you, all of us, we're one and they're another. But they've got to try and do as they said they would. The promise that they gave to the people was that they were going to protect us.
Yeah.
You know.
Look, I don't think this is not about me. This is not about me. If they're doing this to me, a formidable woman as I am, right, what are they doing to everyone else?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what this is about.
Exactly.
If they can incriminate me in the way that they have done, if they can kidnap my son, a 16-year-old boy, if they can do all the shit that they've done, if they can come and violently smash up my home, and if they can produce fraudulent orders in the court, if they can do that to me, what are they doing to other people out there?
Okay.
What have they got away with? That's what we're dealing with here. That's what this is about.
So Hannah, I'm going to give this to the police. I'm going to give it to that Securico. I'm going to get it out as much as possible, and I may, if you don't mind, make a video of this. Just sort of like put my face up there, and post it. Okay?
Yeah, do whatever you wish. Yeah, make it public.
Okay then. No problem.
We need people. We need people here.
Okay then.
Okay.
Leave that with me. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.